This is your home. You used to live in an apartment, but an injury kept you from working and you couldn't pay rent anymore. So now you wake up to the sounds of birds chirping, traffic, horns honking, the occasional siren. When night falls, you hear laughter, one tent over. When it's sing by 3 years now, it always never stops. Who comes on the offer to count, but you have to leave your dog. 7 years now, it always never stops. You managed to stay warm, but it's been 11 years now.
That's what Feed Louisville does. They meet our houseless community where they are.
The story begins during the COVID pandemic. Feed Louisville 2 founders, Chef Veronica Marr and experienced outreach worker Donnie Green, took food from restaurants that would otherwise get thrown away, and they repackaged it into hot, nutritious meals. Feed Louisville's outreach team then takes those meals directly into Louisville's houseless camps and streets, building trust and restoring dignity with each meal they serve.
It started as a stopgap, later transformed beyond food. Through their partnership with the Arthur Street Hotel and others, Feed Louisville began their Hotel to House program, which provides lodging to members of our houseless community and bridges the gap to permanent housing.
Since November 2022, they have transitioned 91 people into permanent housing. And their proven model is based on 3 key differentiators. They work in solidarity, not charity, with our houseless community. They build trust with the folks they serve by meeting people where they are, no questions asked. And they work to move people toward a solution to their houselessness.
By now, you've heard that term a number of times, houseless. You see, homeless may not necessarily fit for some, because while you may be missing housing, you may still have somewhere that you think of as home. During our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Day, Al Cornish explained that language has power. And so our team and Feed Louisville have been intentional about using inclusive language and being inclusive in everything we've created. We even developed an equity tool to help guide that work.
We were blown away by Feed Louisville, but it was clear that they needed help graduating from their grassroots origins into a mature organization making a huge impact across the community.
Feed Louisville had grown beyond food. They had a long list of accomplishments, but no consistent way to share those accomplishments with community partners and potential funders. And that's where we came in.
We have had the privilege of working with Feed Louisville for the past 5 months, and we have a lot to show for it. But before we get to that, I want to introduce you to our team, Mission Prometheus. We have Ashton, Mara, Megan, I'm Justin, Cassie, Nate, and Hannah. The team name is a nod to Greek mythology. Prometheus brought fire to humans, and with it, the invention of technology and knowledge.
And it also connected to our team's mission statement that we created at the Ignite Retreat. And that's to cultivate an empowered team that creates a sustainable solution to meet the needs of our nonprofit partner.
So starting at the retreat and continuing on through our team karaoke night.
Yes, you heard that right, karaoke. And we are taking wedding bookings too.
And every team meeting since, we have fostered teamwork. There have been tears, struggles, and a lot of laughter. We've learned to trust each other and work as one.
So just like Feed Louisville builds trust with the folks they serve, we had to build trust with the Feed Louisville team. And that started by volunteering in the kitchen and at the hotel.
On the day of their big Thanksgiving meal, we helped prep food in the kitchen, served the meal to the hotel residents, and then packaged another 300 meals for the outreach team. By beginning as volunteers, we were able to see the mission in action firsthand. And at the end of the meal, we were approached by one of the hotel residents who just wanted to thank us for caring enough to be there, for making him feel seen, for making him feel like he matters. A meal with dignity.
As we learned at our Fort Knox program day, we couldn't really do any more work without conducting some intel. So we analyzed a year's worth of Feed Louisville social media as well as media coverage. We also set up interviews with a variety of people affiliated with this organization, from their staff, their partners, their volunteers, and even the very people they serve. We learned that they build trust and restore dignity, and we deliver a message that matters.
It was evident that Feed Louisville's model was working, but our interviews and media audits did reveal a few existing issues, namely that Feed Louisville had not developed consistent messaging about who they were, so each stakeholder was telling their own version. We heard words like grassroots and vigilante and anarchist, but then we saw them partnering with corporations and government agencies. Then we were really thrown for a loop when one of the business partners attached to the hotel demanded to be included with all the communications we had with you. So we leaned into what we learned at Aaron Miller's difficult conversations presentation at Samtech about being direct. And so the issue was ultimately resolved by maintaining the boundary of who was involved in the project.
That's right, and with that issue resolved, our team was able to get to work. We focused on sustainable solutions, and by relying on the ask, listen, learn method we learned at our Brown Forman branding program day, we were able to highlight the unique features and benefits of the Feed Louisville brand and the importance of all Feed Louisville does.
So we knew that telling Feed Louisville's story would require a lot of materials. So I logged a lot of hours in Canva, from fact sheets to brochures to one-pagers and flyers. We spent 5 months producing and tweaking collateral materials that helped them tell the story of their past while laying the groundwork for their future.
And we really took the time to understand what programs and technology they were currently using, and then created all graphics in an editable format. So after our time, they could quickly and easily update that content. Some of the additional deliverables were a brand guideline booklet that provided a new look and feel for the organization and also reflected its expanded role in the community. We created a marketing best practice guide that will help them nurture future outreach, as well as an annual social media editorial calendar that will help them create and keep a consistent online presence while freeing up time for staff. We also recorded a message training by our 13-year educator, Cassie, that will help current and future staff learn how to talk about the work they do and how to answer tough questions.
One of the challenges that we met during the process was that we were producing at such a fast rate that we had to remain diligent to ensuring that our deliverables were being approved. Like so many nonprofit leaders, Rana had a lot on her plate, and looking and reviewing our work was just one more task on her to-do list.
Rana said, "We're building the plane as we're learning how to fly it." Most of us were not accustomed to working under such urgency. It was quite an adjustment.
So the Feed Louisville team's pace was based on the very people they serve, which requires them to be nimble. So this was an opportunity for us to check our privilege, something that we were challenged to do during the U of L Inclusion Day. Our team's timeline was not the priority, so we had to adjust to meet their needs and schedule.
So we learned also from Ritu Rowland, their volunteer coordinator, of another existing issue. Ritu's inbox was filling with unanswered requests for corporate opportunities for 20, 30, 150 volunteers. The kitchen couldn't accommodate that number. So we created one-page do-it-yourself supply drives, which are a quick, easy alternative that takes very little time for them to execute. See? Sustainable. Then we also got the organization a membership into Kentuckiana Association for Volunteer Administrators. The network meets monthly for continued learning in the field of volunteerism.
Quickly, we were realizing that our marketing materials were really in service to their fundraising efforts. Growing that hotel to house program caused an increase in expenses. A bigger disruption felt imminent when in a meeting, a primary investor alluded to pulling support if fundraising did not get easier. So I worked to connect Feed Louisville to an experienced fundraiser who could help them curate a strong pitch to generate that corporate support. We also shared resources that offer free virtual trainings for nonprofits. Feed Louisville had initially requested that we start putting together plans for a gala, but those rely on really strong donor bases. And remember, our goal was a sustainable solution. We needed a plan that could grow that base without taking too much time from Feed Louisville staff. So we pivoted to the house party model, inspired by the Choose Your Own Adventure series. Supporters will be recruited to host small events to introduce Feed Louisville's mission to their network, and that will be guided by our party planning document created by Mira.
And while we're on the topic of fundraising, when Executive Director Rana mentioned that Feed Louisville was quickly approaching its 3rd anniversary in March, we began greenhousing ideas, a concept we learned at Norton Healthcare's Innovation Day, giving even the smallest ideas permission and room to grow until we had built the idea of a robust month-long fundraising campaign culminating in a birthday party, because who doesn't love a birthday party? Our team helped secure local media coverage from Wave 3 and WDRB and provided content for Feed Louisville's social media channels throughout the month promoting the fundraiser. More than a dozen local restaurant partners came together in support of Feed Louisville, promoting the birthday fundraiser by displaying table tents with the QR code to the donation page and educating patrons on how to share a meal with their unhoused neighbors.
We wanted to find a way to incentivize our restaurant partners to encourage participation in the fundraiser. So I secured a suite at the Jockey Club at Churchill Downs as a prize for the restaurant partner that brought in the largest amount of donations.
And the invitations for this event were the perfect opportunity to think about Feed Louisville 2.0. When we initially talked about invitations, Rana offered to handle all of the RSVPs via text message on her personal cell phone. Instead, we built an online registration form within their database. And with this quick update, they are now collecting all that attendee data so that they can leverage these tools in the future to efficiently communicate with their supporters.
Ashton's event coordinating skills brought the birthday party to life on March 30th at Logan Street Market. The pop-up house party planners made an appearance when the final ask was for supporters to commit to hosting a party for Feed Louisville.
And at the end of the month-long fundraising campaign, with the help of the restaurant partners and the generous donations from supporters, Feed Louisville raised $12,819 in donations, more than doubling the organization's $5,000 goal.
We wanted to take a minute to unpack all of the numbers from this project. We delivered over 50 collateral materials with unified messaging, over 700 volunteer hours valued at more than $20,000, over $10,000 in in-kind support, over $12,000 raised, and $40,000 pledged through 6 house parties in the month of June.
And most importantly, everything along the way met our goal of being sustainable.
As a result of our work, Feed Louisville is ready to grow. They are bringing on a fundraising person and also hiring a new marketing person, and they'll have the materials to hit the ground running. Also, many of the members of our team have been asked to stay on in an advisory capacity.
The story that you saw in our intro video blends together the details of a lot of the stories that we heard during the course of our work with Feed Louisville. The one key thread that runs through all of those stories is trust.
And it runs through our story too. We had to grow to trust our team. We had to earn the trust of our nonprofit partner. And we've had to foster the trust of the new supporters, donors, and volunteers we've engaged during the course of our work.
Let us leave you with Mac's story. Donnie, Feed Louisville's outreach coordinator, had worked to build rapport with him as he moved from camp to camp. He would accept food and occasional resources, but whenever Donnie felt like he was making progress with him, he would lash out and decline help, especially at the mention of housing. Other organizations would hand him paperwork and say, if you just fill this out, we'll get you fed or warm or housed. And he would shoo him away. But Feed Louisville didn't give up. They kept trying to build that trust with Mac. And after 10 years of persistence, Mac finally revealed to Donnie that he couldn't breathe. And his embarrassment and frustration would cause him to shut down every time the possibility of paperwork presented itself. Because of Feed Louisville's persistence, they were able to meet Mac where he was and get him assistance with housing and reading.
That's what trust can do.
It can restore dignity to someone who's been handed snacks, but not real nutritious food.
It can provide someone the pride of having a door to call their own.
It can give someone the courage to finally accept an outstretched hand.
Feed Louisville doesn't ask for trust, they earn it.
And you can be a partner in that work. Volunteer, advocate, donate. So will you, Feed Louisville?
No questions, please.
It's very impactful. So honestly, I think we're all catching our breath. So Feed Louisville, it's limited to Louisville. Is that, are there any thoughts about it growing or it's sort of being replicated in other cities or areas of need?
I think future state, yes. Right now, the focus is making sure that this model that we're building and developing here is sustainable and to be able to prove that out and then, open that up to the possibility of expanding elsewhere.
And that the model that they use is, I think it is used in a few other places. I think
Housing
in New
first.
York.
It's the housing first
yeah,
model,
housing first.
but with a slight that hotel to house program is a little bit more sustainable than asking for multiple places of housing. And so it really is exciting what they're doing here in our city.
And they'll be working with a PR firm in the future to try to get that story out and expand that reach.
Justin said that you all were asked to continue, but he didn't say that you all were going to.
Stuck with us. Yeah, they're right there. We are eager to continue helping them. We've done a lot. We've built a lot of foundational work, and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow and continue to make changes as they grow.
And I want to add, so I don't know if everyone had a wonderful experience with their nonprofits, I'm sure they did, but with ours, there was a moment at the birthday where we were walking in, me and Mary were, and we saw a houseless person. He was sitting on the bus stop, and he started to ask us for help, and we were thinking, what can we do? And before we could even go inside, Donnie Green, one of the members, is already walking out with a plate of food and a cup of water. Nobody else saw him. Nobody else would have even known he did that. But that's the kind of heart he had, and it's the kind of heart that runs through everyone at Feed Louisville. And that's why we have no qualms about staying involved with this organization going forward.
Is just to clarify, is all the food sources come from restaurants that didn't use the food, or is there other ways that folks are injecting food sources to help prepare the meal?
So they partner with restaurants, and then there's also organizations like Dare to Care and farms that they participate with. So they have, and we created, one of the collateral pieces was something to even get more partnership with different restaurants and larger organizations that can donate food that would otherwise go to the landfill. And on this slide, I don't know if you noticed, they've saved like over 160,000 pounds of food, viable food that would have gone into the trash, that was made into these chef-driven meals. It's not just
They're
like,
delicious.
they're really good. Some of them, they're incredible. It's not just, a standard kind of, there's some
Peanut butter
peanut
and jelly.
Actually, can I tell the story about that really quick? So when we were doing interviews, Nate and I got to interview one of the people who they've put in permanent housing, and we hadn't even asked about the food. He pulled out one of his meals and was like, "You need to see this because I know your dinner doesn't look this good." And he was right. My dinner was not that good. So, it really does give people dignity to be given something that is, nutritious and beautiful
Green.
and
yeah.
green,
Yes.
tasty. It matters. Flavored.
And then can you talk a little bit about the house party concept, where that came from, and then how do you envision it? When's it going to start?
So, like we said, if you don't have a large donor base, if you're still light on your feet, then you really need to grow who knows your name and who understands your mission. And the best way to do that is friends of friends. And so the house party model is a way for somebody who walks up to Rhonda and says, "I want to do something. I want to help you." And Rhonda doesn't have to walk them through the process. She has a document that does it. And now she also will have a document on the other side for how her staff can have follow-up conversations to make sure that they're checking in with those individuals at certain time periods so that there's a communication going on both ends. And the idea is that really it's a light lift for them, and it gives a really clear understanding for supporters of how they can help build out.
an old school Tupperware party.
It is, it's an
Bring
old-
someone in,
yeah.
bring connections, you explain what Feed Louisville does, talk about the mission and encourage them to become supporters.
And it gives them a script, it gives them a format, a schedule for how to handle the event. It's a thorough document.
Lots of choices, which is what I think sets it apart because you can kind of choose your own route to get where you want to go. Like you set your goal of how much money you want to make, earn, make for the.
Yes, the very first step is to actually decide your goal.
And how many posts do you have committed?
Six.
None have happened yet, though.
They're
usually June.
All right, thank
And we're